On this week's episode, Split Fiction has taken over the world of gaming, and we're going to be talking all about it. Pokemon dropped a brand new trailer for Pokemon Legends Z and A, and I'm going to ask the question that the internet is far too afraid to ask. Have Pokemon games become too ugly? I said it. I said what I said. Internet, come fight me. Sony has reportedly canceled a Twisted Metal Battle Royale game. We're going to be talking about all of this and so much more on this week's episode of the Nerf Report.
Can you see me?
Let's just film the video.
Zip it! The ghost of Macho Man Randy Savage is here!
Oh my god!
Yes, negativity sells, and it sure as hell makes clicking your thumbnails a lot easier. But I, as a gamer, as a nerd, as a creator, I am so tired of being upset for clicks.
Are you listening?
Strangers from distant lands and friends of old, you've been summoned to another episode of the Nerf Report. Thank you all so much for joining me this week. It's been a crazy couple weeks here. I think that's the easiest way to say this. Last week, apologies, we did not have a show. I had spent the entire week in the town of Las Vegas. Yeah, and brought all the equipment, brought all the stuff from the studio with all the hopes in the world to film stuff, but was just so exhausted from having to work in that city, and came home with what the locals called the Vegas flu, and we did not make a show last week. So apologies to those of you that woke up on Saturday saying, I can't wait to get a new episode of the Nerf Report. It didn't happen. We disappointed you, and I do not like when that happens. So just know that those moments are going to be rare and far between. And then this week was another busy week. We were down in San Antonio. I was in San Antonio from Monday to Wednesday, and then Thursday we finally came home to the beautiful city of Austin, Texas. Dare I say, the best city in the state of Texas. And I will fight people on that, because nowhere else in the state of Texas can you get the level of food. The food here, fantastic. If you want, if you're coming to Austin and you want the best burger in town, you got to go to Jew Boy. Jew Boy Burger, hands down, the best burger. I used to say Hop Dotties. I hate to say this, hate to say it live for the internet, but Hop Dotties gone downhill. Hop Dotties is not what he used to be. Jew Boy, shout out. Y'all make a very, very good burger. Steaks, we got our steaks. Barbecue, we have the greatest barbecue in this city. Kansas, eat your heart out, right? Carolinas, no. Texas barbecue, specifically here in Austin, we have the best. And then you look at entertainment. Music, we are the music capital of the world. Yeah, I know Nashville likes to say that they're the music capital. No, Nashville, shut up. Austin, we are the music capital. Anytime you want to go see a show, 6th Street, you got rock, you got rap, you got country, you got soul, you got blues. All of that stuff is happening on 6th Street. And then we got the beautiful venues here. The comedy scene is wild. Joe Rogan's Comedy Club right downtown. It's fantastic. This city, I adore it. And I will stand on any ledge, any rock, any precipice and say Austin is the best city in the state of Texas. But anyway, obviously we're coming to you live from the great city of Austin, and big week, busy week for me, busy couple weeks for me, but also a big week for video games. Let's pull up the graphic. The games that launched this week, we got a bunch of them to talk about. On March 4th, War Robots Frontier, 2 Point Museum, Everhood 2, Carmen Sandiego, and Age of Mythology Retold, all released on March 4th. Carmen Sandiego's back, my friends. That is a series I am so glad that we can see back in our lives. Because growing up, man, it was Oregon Trail and Carmen Sandiego. Those were the games you were allowed to play in classrooms. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Right? That was the song. That was the greatest. The show wasn't great. Games, absolutely cool. So I'll definitely be checking this out. Age of Mythologies. Age of Mythologies Retold is now available on PlayStation. I was thinking about it, and I think I talked about this on the daily, but that was the first PC game I ever played. Age of Mythologies Retold, I dove deep into that game. My parents had a computer. They didn't really want us playing games because it was so expensive. We could barely afford it, and they're like, don't touch the computer. Somehow I convinced them to buy a copy of Ages of Mythology because I was like, it'll help me with school. It's about history. No, it's not. It's definitely not about history, but I spent so many countless hours playing that game. I remember that was probably the first game as a child I stayed up till like 2 a.m. playing. Parents were asleep. They didn't know I was playing Ages of Mythology all night long. So check that out. It's available on PlayStation right now. Moving on from the 4th, on Thursday, March 6th, Suikoden, whatever we pronounce that, Suikoden 1 and 2 Remaster, Split Fiction took over the world of gaming on March 6th. Write down the date because we will never forget it. Sorry, We're Closed, Never 7, End of Infinity, and Fragpunk, another game that I think people might sleep on that I think is definitely worth checking it out. But I mean, Split Fiction, my God, we're going to be talking about that a lot, but it's been a long time since I have seen a game get that high of praise. And then obviously on Friday, March 7th, a little game called Sugar Dew Valley. Not to be confused with Stardew Valley, but Sugar Dew Valley, a sister of Stardew, launched on March 7th. Those are the games that launched this week. As always, please tell us what you're playing in the comment section down below and what you're looking forward to and what we should be checking out here on the show as well. Thank you guys for that. Wanted to take a quick second before we dive into the stories and share a little video with y'all. It took over the interwebs, and I feel like we have to talk about it because it's such gamers focused. Essentially, these gentlemen right here created a tank, and a virtual tank for Tank Simulator. I've got to imagine that this is like World of Tanks they're playing here, but this is badass. Like, this is everything that I think the gamers want from the world of gaming. Just the boys getting together on the weekend, building a tank in the garage, and taking on the Germans and blowing up their tanks. Like, you got one guy who's driving it. One guy's clearly maybe looking down the scopes. I don't think he's doing much. But then the part that made me laugh is they had like a workable cannon that like every time the player fired, they had to like put in new like shells. And I was like, man, these guys went far. They put shells in here. Nope, it's not shells. It's 2 liters. 2-liter bottles of soda. And at one point, the dude like opens up the storage facility and you got like Pepsi, Coke, Mountain Dew. Anyway, shout out to these guys. They definitely put a big smile on my face this week. And it reminded me of what it was to be a gamer. So I wanted to give them a shout out. Definitely check it out. Link is in the description of this video. And before we jump into the story of our game of the week, Split Fiction, let's take a quick second to say thank you to our sponsors, our Nerf Gaming News Plus members. Did you know that on average, 12 video game podcasts die every single week? Now, is that a real stat? I don't know. I do this show by myself. We can't hire researchers, but with your support, we can avoid becoming another statistic and keep on making really cool content like this show, along with other cool shows in the future. That's right. By becoming a Nerf Gaming News Plus member, you not only help support independent games media, but you help us create really cool gaming content. Because with your support, we're able to hire things like researchers, writers, editors, along with other people who can ensure that we are constantly coming out with the best content possible for you. So join Nerf Gaming News Plus today and get access to exclusive content, along with early access to everything else we make. Ah, look at that. Another gaming podcast just bit the dust. I guess we should make it 13. Yeah, special shout out to the Nerf Gaming News Plus members who make this show possible. Thank you guys for your support. We include their names down here in the bottom of the video, but I always want to take opportunity to say thank you for taking your hard-earned cash to make this show possible. And this show's rough. We are growing this show. We're trying to make it something special. We're trying to make it something more than it is. And the fact that you guys saw the early forming, like, disgusting clay, and you're like, that's going to become something, I want to give some money, I want to put my hard-earned dollars behind that, it means a lot to me. So anyway, thank you. And let's jump into the game of the week. That's right. We got a big game to talk about this week. Split Fiction. My God. I mean, when we saw the trailer at the Game Awards, I thought it was pretty clear that Split Fiction was going to be a big deal, right? You saw like It Takes Two, that was their previous game, and it like still will pop up trending on Instagram because some husband and wife were playing it. But this week, Split Fiction launched, and I think it's worth noting, this has a ton of accolades. The first game from EA in 13 years to get a 90 plus Metacritic. The last game to do that was Mass Effect 3. Eat your heart out, Madden. Big deal. Big deal for Split Fiction. And let's start breaking down some of these reviews, right? VG247 gave the game a 5 out of 5. Digitech gave the game a 5 out of 5. Eurogamer gave Split Fiction a 5 out of 5. Variety came out of nowhere and said, we talk about gaming too. And they gave it a 5 out of 5. And then my personal favorite publication, Inverse, gave the game a 5 out of 5. But let's not forget GameSpot. GameSpot's Jessica Cogswell, I wrote it down because it was so good. They gave the game a 10 out of 10, saying Split Fiction could very well be the best cooperative game I've ever played. At the very least, I firmly believe it sets a new standard for the genre, and yet it's more than that. Split Fiction is a love letter to creativity, to stories, games, and the people who make them. It's funny, dark, joyous, childish, tender, cheesy, thrilling, and remarkable. All this combined, and gorgeous environments, fantastic gameplay, and sheer spectacle make Hazelight Studios' newest release an early contender for the best game of 2025. High praise from GameSpot's Jessica Cogswell right there. A lot of big praise coming from the video game industry. Now, I, for one, have not played it. I was not sent a review copy, which, no hard feelings, I understand. You can't give out free copies to everyone, but one day we will get a review copy for a video game like this. And I gotta say, I'm gonna be playing it this weekend, right? The game is installing on my PlayStation. I'm really excited to jump into it. It's a multiplayer game, so I gotta find my number 2. And I might try to convince the wife to play it with me. You know, she's not the biggest gamer, but I think all the Instagram clips of like It Takes Two gives me hope to be like, if their wives can play it, my wife can play it. And, you know, my kids aren't old enough. They're not big enough to play a game like this, so I gotta find someone to play it with, and I'm sure she'll step up to the chart. But I do think one thing that was super interesting about the Split Fiction reveal or launch or review week, if you want to give it that, was that the game's director, Joseph Fares, which, how can you not like that guy? But Joseph Fares came out and he did like a Q&A where he basically like answered the internet's questions. And one of them was basically someone saying like, dude, I love the fact that this game has no microtransactions and loot boxes. And Joseph Fares, just kind of building my appreciation for him, had a really interesting comment to this. So let's like pull this up.
No loot boxes, no marks, no bullshit. Words to live by, my man. Of course. And that goes for everything we do at Hazelight. I think those kind of shits affects the design of how the game should be done. Every time you take a decision, a design decision taken on you making more money in the game, I think it's a huge problem and it's stopping our industry from a creative perspective.
Round of applause for Joseph Fares for that one. I think, look, at the end of the day, I understand everybody needs to get paid, right? People need to put food on their plates, they need to buy clothes, they need to pay their bills. I'm all for that. But there was something really good about the world of gaming when, like, you bought the game and you got the game and you played it and then you were done. Like, you weren't bombarded with like, look at this new skin, you gotta buy it, or like, look at this new ammo pack, don't you want to look cool, or hey kids, don't you want to play as Peter Griffin and Rick from Rick and Morty? Like, gaming was so much simpler back in the day. So to have a developer who's like, yep, I'm aware of it, I see it, I'm aware of kind of like the negative effects that this having on gaming. And I hate to use this word, but it feels like the video game industry has almost been hijacked by like, let's make as much money as possible. And again, I respect making money. Everyone has to pay their bills. But to have a developer who's like, nah, dude, putting microtransactions and putting loot boxes into your game, it changes everything. I think that's a big W to know that there are still game developers out there, not only on the indie scene, but also in like the big scale launch scene that are still having this feeling. Big win and a big W for gamers. Now, during the same video, Joseph Fares also kind of pushed back. He was accused of being too woke. And let's hit that clip real quick.
Another feminism propaganda. So what the fuck is this? I guess that somebody are reacting that there are 2 women. Let me say this. In Brothers, there were 2 guys. In A Way Out, there were 2 guys. In It Takes Two, there were 1 guy, 1 woman. And now there are 2 girls and everybody's complaining. Come on, man. I mean, let's face it, man. And it's also like based on my daughters. I don't care what you have between your legs. That's totally not interesting for me. Good characters is what's important.
And I think that's important right there, right? Good characters are important. And that's what's honestly like drives me so crazy right now about like the year 2025 and just the lunacy of the internet. Because legit, I feel like there's this woke witch hunt pendulum that is going across the internet, and like it's completely swung in the opposite direction. Because at first that pendulum was like way too far in this direction, and people were like, your game's not woke enough. there's no representation. And the internet was kind of like, hold up, let's reel that in real quick because you're going way too far in that direction. And then the pendulum with all of its momentum goes in this direction to the point where like gamers are like, your game has a girl? You're far too woke. And meanwhile, I'm standing here in the middle as like just nobody that has like a say in either of this being like, guys, we're going too far on both sides. Like, it's okay to have a video game that's about a woman. It's okay to have a video game that's about a man. As long as the story is good, as long as the gameplay is good, as long as the narrative makes sense, that's all we want from gaming. You don't need to go this far in this direction to make a good game, and God forbid, definitely don't go too far in that direction. Just stay right here in the center. Make games that are normal. And to hear that kind of echoed by Joseph, I mean, it's a big win, again, for gaming that we have developers out there that's like, if it's a man or a woman, it's not the issue. The matter is the game good? That is what matters. If the story hits, if the gameplay is good, and the characters resonate with you, that is all that matters. So kindly shut the fuck up. Now, the rest of this video is pretty much Joseph just responding to criticism, kind of joking around with some fans, but he also teased what is next for Hazelight Studios.
You said single player game already dead. You're like peanut who forgot its skin. Don't drown like wait, what the fuck? Peanuts who forgot its skin. I don't even understand. But when have I said single player is dead? And I've never said that. That's total bullshit. And here's the thing. Hazelight's first game is actually a single player game. And look, even if Hazelight will always have a co-op DNA all the time, I keep saying you never know about the future. Single player is not an impossibility for Hazelight, but it will be done in a Hazelight way. So that's probably, you got it wrong, my man. And the peanut who forgot its skin, I don't even know what that is. I mean, sound kind of dirty to me, my man.
Peanuts who have forgot their skin. Is that something that people say? And I guess the other question I have is like, are we talking about peanuts or are we talking about the peanuts? Because I would like to speak on behalf of the entire internet and say, I don't want to see Charlie Brown without skin, right? I'm not trying to just see like a corpse of Charlie Brown kicking a football. I don't think anybody wants to see that. So let's keep the skins on the peanuts, please. But in all seriousness, Hazelight Studios is in such a rare place right now, right? If you look at their catalog of games and you look at the legacy that they are leaving in the video game industry, they have such a great collection of games. Like I know people are going to get upset by me saying this, but at the same time, I now put Hazelight in the same conversation as Naughty Dog. Because with Naughty Dog, it doesn't matter what the game is. It doesn't matter what the game is about. It doesn't matter how long it is or if it's a multiplayer or single player game. As long as it has the Naughty Dog logo on it, I am playing that video game. Hazelight as a studio has reached such a level of craft that I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to play this game. I'm going to go buy Split Fiction. I'm going to go play it. And I think just based off their catalog of games, I'm all in. And I cannot wait to see what they do next. If it's a single-player game for Hazelight, I'm sure they're going to kill it. I'm sure a single-player video game from Hazelight will be absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see it. So anyway, that's our game of the week. It's a Split Fiction. Definitely check it out. Let me know in the comment section if you played it. When you play it, come back in and tell us if it's good, where your score is. And before we end it, shout out to Joseph and his entire team at Hazelight for a super successful release week. I hope your game goes on to see all the success in the world and it sells millions. Now, our next story we got to talk about is another game that could have sold millions, but PlayStation killed it. It unfortunately will never see the light of day. And that is the fact that we almost got a Twisted Metal Battle Royale video game. And Twisted Metal is a game of mine and I think many other youths where we played this for countless days. You know, I look back at my childhood and I had countless summer days were spent, you know, driving around, blowing up other players, blowing up ice cream trucks, shooting rockets, hitting flamethrowers, and causing absolute carnage. This game will forever hold such a special place in my heart. And you fast forward today, and unfortunately the future is extremely bleak. Because fun fact, the last Twisted Metal video game to launch was 2012. A decade. I mean, at this point, you might as well say it's been a century, right? We haven't seen a Twisted Metal game in a century because who knows when we'll see the next. And color me surprised when we hear a story this week that a brand new Twisted Metal video game almost came out. In fact, a while back ago, we found out that PlayStation canceled a video game that was being developed by Fire Sprite. Turns out this was actually going to be a Twisted Metal multiplayer video game, and it had Battle Royale mechanics, which, dear God, why? Why, oh why, oh why? Like, I understand Concord scared a lot of people internally, but that could have been such a great game. In fact, the story came out this week because a UI artist shared images that have since been taken down by Sony Legal, and they gave some details about the game. They said that the game would have been a third-person shooter game with the objective of being the last one standing. Now, just a quick clarification to everybody talking about this story and everybody posting articles saying, Battle Royale, Battle Royale! Last person standing doesn't technically mean a Battle Royale game, right? Splash Damage, another fantastic developer, they released a game called Outcasters, and I would never call Outcasters a Battle Royale game. I do not think that. However, who am I to be correcting the internet? If you think it's a Battle Royale game, I guess it's a Battle Royale video game, but here we have another game that has been lost that we will never see. Sony has killed another video game that I, for one, think would be awesome. So let's take a moment of silence and let's pour one out for the lost memory of what could have been. You know, the way that 2025 has been going, we've been pouring out so much of this on the floor that this studio just smells like straight whiskey. But anyway, I wanted to take a moment to talk about this because I saw a lot of people when we talked about this on the Daily who were like, I'm glad that this didn't happen. And I just wanted to paint the picture real quick because I think that this game could have been incredible. A Twisted Metal Battle Royale game had so much potential, right? Imagine like you're dropping into a war-torn city and you're searching for weapons and you're also finding keys to vehicles and there's like vehicle frames all throughout the city and you gotta find tires, you gotta find bumpers, you gotta find a steering wheel, fuel, all the parts to make the car possible. And then along the way, when you're searching, you come across other players. And so you got to find them out, take their parts, build a vehicle. And then like you build this vehicle, right? You build it from the ground up and you can add like machine guns, you can add flamethrowers, rocket launchers, all the cool shit that you want from a Battle Royale Twisted Metal video game. And then you're driving through town. Now I will say, first person to get the vehicle obviously has an advantage. A little too overpowered. So then you got to figure out like how do you battle the vehicles. Okay, so what we do is we make spike strips, right? You can throw spike strips down on the ground. Maybe you could make like some IED traps that you could lay around the city to blow up the vehicles. Put some landmines where you can bury them in the road so when a player's driving his ice cream truck, like it blows up their vehicles. So you could like disable them and it kind of levels the playing field. That, I think, would have been a fantastic game. And that's why I'm so bummed. Like, I think a Twisted Metal Battle Royale game is something... It's such a cool take on the genre that we haven't seen already, right? Like, I don't want just another PUBG or another Warzone or another Fortnite. Like, take the concept, flip it on its head, and give me something unique. Take risks. Like, do something awesome. Now, the bad part of this is that PlayStation has obviously canceled this game due to the colossal failure that was Concord, where they lost millions of dollars. I think the last total was like $400 million. So at this point, Sony is pretty much just shutting down every live service that they're working on, and I guarantee you in the boardrooms, someone's walking in like, guys, I got an idea for a new live service, and Sony's just like, stop. Don't ever say that word again. All I said was live. Shut up, Jim. Get everyone's lunch order, and then get the hell out. But anyway, my thoughts obviously go to everyone who is working on this game. I for one, I want a new Twisted Metal game. I think that like a Twisted Metal Battle Royale game could have been sick. And the fact that we're not seeing it, it's a big bummer. It's a big bummer not just for me, but also for the video game industry and for the people who had spent the past couple years trying to make this game possible. Moving on to the next story, probably the most controversial story of the entire show this week. Pokemon games are too damn ugly. We're just going to take a pause right there because I'm sure people in the comment section are going to be like, how dare you? My Pokemon games are so beautiful. Pokemon games, how dare you attack the world of Pokemon? Pokemon is so much better than Power World. Pokemon is all part of the almighty Nintendo ecosystem, and how dare you? If I was there, I'd punch you in the face, sir. How dare you attack Pokemon? Attacking Pokemon means you're attacking me, and I will fight you, sir. Yeah, shout out to those of you in the comment section typing that right now. In case you missed it, last week we got the reveal for a brand new Pokemon video game called Pokemon Legends Z and A, which will be the next mainline game for the world of Pokemon. And following the game's trailer and the gameplay reveal, I for one, can't help to be disappointed, right? I'm a little disappointed. Like I know I have said this ad nauseum here on, I know I have said this a lot here on the show, but it is 2025, the year of our Lord Grand Theft Auto 6, and Pokemon, one of the largest franchises in the video game industry, a pillar in Nintendo's portfolio, a franchise that has caused grown men to camp out for hours and fight over tiny pieces of paper with Pokemon printed on them. Sidebar, I know we were talking about something right there, but did y'all see that video? Right, let's pull that up real quick. We got some grown-ass men standing at a Pokemon vending machine, which apparently Pokemon vending machines are a thing. I haven't seen one yet, but they're out in the wild. Check them out. But we got these two grown-ass men fighting over who gets to get a Pokemon card first. And clearly fighting, used very loosely here, but they are dancing, holding hands, backing their booty up, trying to make sure that they can't get a Pokemon card. And obviously, outside of that, I don't know what the backstory is here. Maybe this man with a nice looking hair insulted the Philadelphia Eagle fans, but all I gotta say, Philadelphia fan right here, he's soaring high. He just won the Super Bowl. He's trying to get his Pokemon cards. I get it, but sir, you are not doing any favor to Philadelphia fans, because there is a stigma to Philadelphia Eagle fans, and you are filling it perfectly. I'm not taking sides in this fight. Obviously, don't know the backstory, but Crocs and sweats, definitely a bold choice to start a fight over Pokemon cards. Other gentleman, I believe, deserves his spot in line. Get in line, sir. But anyway, apologies. That was a very long sidebar. Let's get back to the ugly-ass Pokemon video game, shall we? And look, Pokemon Legends Z&A, there's obviously progress, right? These games look better than most Pokemon games we've seen over the past couple of years, but I also look at the world that they're showing us, and I'm just like, feels disappointing. I mean, take a look at the Wild Zones, right? Let's pull these up. These are built so boringly, right? The buildings are flat. They make it look like they have like features and architecture, but it's all flat. It's all printed onto like a block, and it's just, again, it's 2025. Why are we still getting Pokemon games like this? The franchise that is supposed to be the catalyst of what Nintendo games are, and this is what we are getting. The design is even tough. I mean, that car right there, it looks like they literally just put a car there, right? And it's like, okay, these are wild zones. You're not supposed to be driving cars in the wild zones. This is just about the safety of animals. Well, if that car's there, maybe it broke down, right? Why hasn't nature reclaimed it? Why doesn't it look like it's broken down? Why does it not look like every single car in the city of Philadelphia that has the windows knocked out, the doors are open, the trunk is open, the tires are gone? Why does it not look like that? I mean, the wild zones, if they don't have vehicles, I mean, this one should be reclaimed by nature, but they're not. And that's the level of detail that I'm talking about. And look, again, the people who get pissed off about criticizing Pokemon, their biggest thing that they get frustrated with is the moment that you mention Power World. And I'm going to say it, Power World. Power World, Power World, Power World. It might as well be Beetlejuice the way I'm saying it. And if you compare what we're seeing right now to Power World still has Pokemon beat. Being limited to just a wild zone. I mean, could you imagine getting into the world of Power World and there's just like a 20K by 20K square box that you're allowed to explore in, and the rest of the world you can't do anything? Like, that's a joke. Power World feels full of life. It feels like a living world, whereas this definitely does not hit that. I mean, even when you compare it to a game that's not Power World, like pull up Temtem. We are literally at a point in the video game industry where Pokemon is asleep at the wheel, and the developers outside of the Nintendo ecosystem, the developers outside of the Pokemon Company and Game Freak and all these different studios, they have gotten so much better at making Pokemon games that are not Pokemon video games. And I just think that's sad. Like, the reason we love this is because it's part of our childhood. We've played Pokemon games our entire life, but we've grown up. We want to see it become more. And I see people that are looking at the city and they're praising it. And they say like, dude, these cities look great. How could you say that these look bad? And again, yes, they look good for games, but they look good for games that came out 10 or 12 years ago. Compare the city mechanics to any other video game that came out this week, or even this year, and it's just disappointing. I don't see anything new. I don't see anything groundbreaking for these games. Like, every mechanic that Nintendo was like, new to the series, these are mechanics that we've seen in other franchises in previous years. And the other side of this is going to be the first new Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch 2. Right? Brand new piece of Nintendo hardware coming out this year. The Nintendo Switch 2. What's going to sell that? A brand new Pokemon game. And after watching that trailer, oh, man. I'm not buying a brand new $600 Nintendo Switch just to play that game. No, I'm still just going to play it on my standard Nintendo Switch, right? And that's the argument we have heard for years, is that the reason Pokemon is so far behind the times and the reason that these games look bad is because it's saddled down by the bad hardware of the Nintendo Switch. And I shouldn't say bad hardware, right? The old hardware of the Nintendo Switch. And I guess that's what's feeding into my frustration here, right? Is you see the Nintendo Switch 2 coming and you're like, well, the next Pokemon game is going to absolutely slap. And then I see that and I'm just like, this is the same Pokemon stuff that we've gotten for years. It hasn't grown up. There's no glow up here whatsoever. I mean, you're telling me this is the first Pokemon video game for the new Switch? Okay, buddy. Not really thrilled about this. And I guess the other side of this, and I'm just now thinking about this, is like, the thing is this is what we're getting after a 3-year break. Pokemon was accused of becoming the next Madden. They were like, your games are coming out every single year. They're looking rough. We're not really a fan of this. And rightfully so. Those are fair criticisms. So Pokemon said, hey, we're going to take a break. We're going to cool the jets. We're going to step it back a little bit. We're going to take some time and master the flow of our video games. And then they come out with Pokemon Z&A, and I'm just like, what were you doing? What were y'all doing with that time? Because this looks exactly like everything you've been working on for the past couple of years. I mean, if it comes out a little less buggy, then sure, that was a win. But there's nothing groundbreaking. There's nothing revolutionary here. And it's a bummer, man. Like, we waited 3 years for Pokemon Z&A, and it feels like it should have been released 2 years ago. And I think what's super telling about this is during the Pokemon Present, they also announced Pokemon Champions, which is a brand new like mobile video game that's going to be coming to like iOS and Android devices, where you can basically battle with your friends, and you can use the Pokemon you capture in Pokemon Go and the Pokemon you capture in the mainline games to battle people. And I think it's extremely telling that in 2025, a mobile Pokemon video game has more people excited than the mainline Pokemon video game. And I think that should be extremely concerning for Nintendo. If I was behind the scenes of Nintendo, I'd be like, what have we done? And I think the reality is nothing's going to change anytime soon. But anyway, Pokemon Legends Z and A, it will be launching in the fall of 2025. If you're excited, congratulations, mazel tov to you. Personally, I think I'll be taking a pass on this one. But that is it for this week's episode of the Nerf Report. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And a special thank you to the Nerf Gaming News Plus members who make this show possible. As always, sound off in the comment section what you thought about the stories. Share it with your friends. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We're 30 minutes in and you haven't hit the subscribe button. Maybe I'm just that distracting. But man, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button now. And until next time, my friends, as always, we end every single video by saying thank you, but please tell somebody you love them.